The rain had been falling for 3 nights straight when I first heard about the Bible of Blood. I was traveling through a forgotten town, a place people only mentioned in whispers, with broken churches and boarded windows staring like blind eyes at the streets below. My arrival felt like a mistake from the very beginning. The air hung heavy, and the silence seemed unnatural, as though even the wind refused to disturb whatever lived there. The innkeeper, an old woman with milky eyes, warned me not to leave after midnight, not to wander the alleyways, and above all, never to follow the tolling of the church bell. She spoke in riddles, her trembling hands clutching a silver rosary that looked older than the town itself. But curiosity has always been my weakness. That night, as I lay awake, I heard the faint sound of a bell ringing, not from a church tower, but from somewhere deep within the ground. Against my better judgment, I followed it. The streets were soaked with rain, reflecting the moonlight like broken glass. I walked past abandoned houses, graffiti scrawled across their walls in languages I didn't understand, and I swear I could feel eyes following me. The bell's toll grew louder, pulling me towards the outskirts, where the ruins of an old cathedral stood, half buried in mud and vines. Its massive doors hung open, though no one had entered that place for centuries. I stepped inside, my lantern flickering against walls smeared with something dark, and when I lifted the light higher, I saw words written in crimson. The Bible of Blood must never be read. My heart pounded, but I felt compelled to move deeper. At the altar lay a book, bound in leather so ancient it seemed alive, its cover breathing faintly, as though it had lungs. The pages glistened wetly, red like fresh wounds. The moment I touched it, the bells stopped. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then the voice came, soft at first, whispering my name as though it had known me since birth. I froze, but the whisper grew louder, urging me to open the book. Against every instinct, I did. The first page was blank, but as my eyes lingered, words began to bleed onto it, forming sentences in my own handwriting. I staggered back, my lantern shaking in my hand, but the book pulsed and turned its own pages, revealing scenes I had never lived yet knew too well. A woman screaming in childbirth, blood flooding a church floor, a priest laughing while flames consumed his flock. Then I saw myself, standing before this very altar, holding the Bible of Blood, drenched in crimson, while countless faceless figures bowed before me. I dropped the book, but it didn't fall. It clung to my hands, its pages fluttering wildly, cutting my skin open as though feeding. Blood seeped into the paper, and in that moment, I understood. The book did not contain stories, it wrote them with the lives of those who touched it. I tried to rip it away, but the more I struggled, the deeper it sank into me, until it was no longer a book, but part of my flesh. The cathedral walls groaned, the stained glass shattered, and from the shadows, figures emerged, hooded, eyeless, their mouths sewn shut with black thread. They encircled me, reaching with skeletal fingers, and when they touched my wounds, I felt my blood draining, not onto the floor but into them. They didn't drink, it was as if my life itself was being written into their hollow bodies. I screamed, but the bell rang again, louder than before, shaking the ground. The hooded figures dropped to their knees, bowing to me, chanting in voices that should not exist. I ran, stumbling through the collapsing cathedral, clutching my bleeding hands. The rain had stopped, but the streets outside were filled with people, except they weren't alive. Their eyes were black pits, their mouths dripping with red, and when they saw me, they whispered the same words, "The Bible of Blood is open again." I fled the town, driving through the night until the world outside the windshield blurred. I told myself it had been a nightmare, a hallucination from exhaustion. But when I stopped at a gas station the next morning, the attendant's face went pale the moment he saw me. He pointed to my reflection in the glass door. My skin was pale, veins dark as ink, and words written in blood, were moving beneath my flesh like worms, spelling prophecies I could not understand. I never returned to that town, but the book never left me. Wherever I go, people change. They look at me with fear, with reverence, and sometimes they fall dead at my feet, their blood soaking into the ground and disappearing as though the earth itself swallows it. I don't sleep anymore, because when I do, I dream of cathedrals burning and bells tolling, and when I wake, I find ashes on my hands. They call me cursed, chosen, damned. It doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that the book is alive inside me, whispering, urging, commanding. And I know the truth now. It is not a book at all. It is a covenant, a living scripture that feeds on humanity. And through me, it is writing its final chapter. The Bible of Blood is not just history. It is prophecy. And I am its author. But even as I write this, I can feel the words bleeding through me, this very story etching itself not onto paper, but into my veins, into the world. If you are hearing this, it means the Bible has already reached you. It does not care if you believe. It only cares if you read. And once you have read, the book will write you too. The bell will toll for you, as it tolled for me, as it tolled for every soul before us. There is no escape. There is no end. For the Bible of Blood is not history. It is prophecy. And prophecy always demands its author. Yet there is more things I try to forget but cannot. I returned once, against my better judgment, drawn back to Darnell's Hollow as if invisible chains pulled me there. The town was worse than before. The buildings seemed half-melted, as though stone had bled under heat, and the townspeople no longer tried to hide their disfigurements. Their mouths hung open, stitched crudely with wire, their hands red to the wrist, their skin etched with the same moving script that carved itself into mine. When they saw me, they dropped to their knees as though I were a messiah, their bloody foreheads pressed to the mud, and they began to chant, not with voices, but with the sound of bells tolling inside their chests. I stumbled past them toward the cathedral ruins, but the ruins were no longer ruins. The stones had rebuilt themselves, blacker than night, taller than before, as though the book itself had resurrected the temple. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of copper, and the altar no longer stood empty. Hundreds of books lay stacked in impossible towers, each bound in the same dark leather, each pulsing like living flesh. And I knew then, my Bible was only one of many. The scripture was multiplying, feeding, preparing for something greater than I could comprehend. I tried to flee, but the hooded congregation surrounded me, their eyeless faces tilted upward as though in prayer. Their sewn mouths began to split open, bleeding, and from them came my own voice, hundreds of times over, repeating the words I had written, screaming my own confessions back at me. My sanity cracked that night. I fled again, and though I swore never to return, I know I will. The bells call louder each time. Now wherever I wander, I see signs. Blood drips from church walls where no wound exists. Children hum hymns they could not possibly know. My reflection lags behind me in mirrors, lips moving with words I cannot hear. And always, at the edge of my vision, I see it, the crimson book, waiting. I am hunted by my own creation, or perhaps I am only its servant. What terrifies me most is not the blood, not the whispers, not even the deaths that follow me. It is the certainty that the Bible of Blood is patient. It does not need to rush. It will write its final chapter when the world itself is ready to bleed. And maybe that time is closer than any of us dare believe.